Metal leaf is a popular accent in gourd art and is available in colors like gold, copper, silver, and variegated black and red. It is often seen on high-dollar gourd art, and many well-known gourd artists incorporate it into their work, including Carolyn Wolfe Russell, Bill Collagen, and Gloria Crane. Now you can easily apply metal leaf using Gourdmaster heat-activated designer glue. Not only does it dry in seconds using a heat tool, there's also no need to worry about your metal leaf flaking or peeling off, as shown on this gourd, which was made using traditional metal leaf liquid adhesives. This sample piece, which you'll see created next, shows just how durable Gourdmaster heat-activated glue really is. It bonds so strong you can even scratch it with a fingernail and the metal leaf stays intact. Let's watch now as acclaimed artist and instructor Gloria Crane takes us step by step in how to create this simple yet elegant design on a gourd.
This technique is going to teach you how to use metal leafing with the heat-activated glue. This piece I've used copper leafing and in conjunction with some patina, but the focus today is going to be only on the leafing itself. Okay, an easy way to get your design on your gourd is by using the stick and burn. You can purchase them in the pre-printed design packets, or you have copyright-free designs at home on your computer. You can purchase it plain and to be used with either your laser printer or your inkjet printer. With this piece right here, I've used a copper leafing with a simple geometric design. The geometrics are really nice and easy for beginners especially. So I've chosen a design from the geometric stick and burn design packet here, the transfer sheets. And this is the pattern I'm going to be using right here. The simple straight lines, no curved lines to be burnt at all. So it's really easy for beginners. I am also going to be using some red leafing here. Okay, and so to start, I'm going to cut out my design, and simple to use, like contact paper. Position your pattern, place it on, press it down. That's simple. If you have little bubbles or pleats, they just press down really easy. And now I'm just going to wood burn through it. So I'm using the razor tip medium knife, which is excellent for burning straight lines. And I have my setting at about 4.5. I want to start out at a lower temperature until I find out exactly how this gourd is going to burn. Every gourd is different. It will accept the heat differently, and so you just have to adjust it until you know how it's going to burn. And you always want to start out with a lower setting first. You don't want to burn using a lot of pressure. You want the heat to do the work for you. If you're using the pen too hot, first of all, you're not going to have nice crisp lines, and secondly, you're going to run the risk of bending your tip of your pen. You don't want to do that. And I believe this is hot enough. And if you lose your way and you can't really see where you've burnt, you can just go back and feel your lines, and you can feel every burn mark there. So I've started over here and I've burnt up to here. So I just continue around. You want to steady the wood burner with your little pinky finger. You have a lot more control. Instead of holding it like a pencil so much, you want to steady it with your pinky finger. Okay, and for you beginners out there, if you're finding that you're getting an uneven burn line, like some dark lines and then lighter lines, you're not keeping a consistent pressure with your pen. And sometimes it can be the gourd too. You'll be burning along and you'll hit a hard spot and it won't accept the heat quite as well as the rest of the gourd. That's just the nature of the gourd, but generally it's because you're not keeping a nice consistent pressure. And again, you don't want to put too much pressure. Let the heat do the work for you. Okay, I'm going back over and feeling, and I have hit every single area, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the stick and burn. It's really nice because it doesn't leave a sticky residue. It comes off fairly easy, as you can tell. Okay, so we've got the pattern down. Now we're going to apply the background color, and with this piece I'm going to apply a sienna color to the surrounding. So that means I have to be very careful. I don't want my sienna to go into my star pattern at all. So I'm going to come just slightly in and we're going to pull away, and I'll show you how to do the blending. On the inside here I'm going to use gold. So every other section here is going to be the gold ink. We're going to have leafing, gold ink, leafing, and so on all the way around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of put a little dab of ink every other one so that I don't lose my way here, because sometimes I get distracted and I'll forget and I'll just start going over the whole thing, and then I've totally ruined my design. So this is the gold that we're using right now, the gold ink dye, and I'm using the micro brush. The micro brushes are really nice because they hold the ink, and you're getting a nice even coat on there. So you can see how this could look. If I wanted to, I wouldn't even have to put any gold leafing on this. You can see how nice it's coming out right now, but we're going to put leafing on it. It's going to look really pretty. And I'm not being really super careful. I'm going out of the lines a little bit here, but again, it's not a big deal because we're going to be applying that leaf. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and heat set this. Okay, for the background I'm going to be using the sienna ink. And because we're working in real tight areas here, I'm going to use the micro brush to just kind of get into the little corners. And again, I'm not going to be real careful about getting over this one portion that hasn't been colored yet, because we're going to be putting the metal leafing over that. So we just start by working around it a little bit. This is the part right here that I want to be careful about getting on. I don't want to go over the gold. Pick up a clean felt, and I'm going to pull away from the star so that I'm not mixing my two colors. Okay, that sienna is really pretty. Pick up a little bit of sienna here, go all over. Now I haven't put any wax on this piece prior to working on it because I'm going to be using the gold leafing, and the heat set glue will not take to the wax. It will separate, and you want it to be able to adhere to the gourd. Okay, coming in. You don't need to pick up a whole lot of ink because it goes a long, long way. So a little bit will take you a long way. Now if you have to leave the project for any length of time and you come back and it's kind of dried, you just pick up the same ink and it will reactivate itself and blend in nicely. Okay, now just work on blending it all in and making sure that your lines are gone. You don't want those hard lines showing from working the ink. Heat set it with your heat tool. Okay, I've noticed that it looks like I didn't quite get it enough ink over here, so I'm just going to pick up a little bit more and go right back over and just blend in a little bit more here. And that's what's really nice, is that the colors, you can go back over them and work them and blend them. If you have to, you pounce it a little bit to get more color, just to get it to blend. If you were working with leather dye, you wouldn't be able to do this. This leather dye would streak and it's not as forgiving at all. And leather dye fades. The ink dyes are really great. I mean, they're very fade resistant and I love them for that. And they're so easy to work with because they really are, they're fun to use and you can do so much with them. You can blend the colors. I so many times will mix colors just to get a certain look. So we'll just heat set it again. So now we're going to go to the next step, which will be applying the heat activated glue to the sections where we're going to be applying the metal leafing. Okay, I'm going to be using an angle brush. You can see the little angle, and it's a 1/8 angle brush. And I like the angle brush especially for these tight areas because I can really get in there and apply my adhesive right into those corners. So I'm just going to brush the adhesive on using my paintbrush. You can also use the micro brushes. I forgot to mention with the micro brushes too that they can be rinsed and used over, so you don't have to throw them away after each application. Okay, and I am using the heat activated clear glue. And again, a little bit goes a very long way. And I just make a small little puddle on my palette plate and just work from that. You don't need to put it on thick, just a very light coat. You just spread it on lightly. And what's really nice about this is that you're not going to see those brush strokes like you would with the traditional liquid adhesive, metal leafing adhesive. With the liquid adhesive, you put it on and you have to guess when it's dry. You don't want to ever touch it to see if it's dry, so you have to just kind of guess that it's dry. Because if you apply the metal leafing when it's wet, your metal leafing is going to gum up and it's going to ruin your whole project. So with this, we apply it, we heat set it, and we know that it's ready for the leafing. It's faster, it's easier to use, it's cleaner. You don't have to worry about spilling it. Okay, now again, this is heat activating glue, so it's not going to be sticky until you heat it. So you cannot put your leafing on top of this until you have actually dried it or activated it with your heat tool. And you don't want to puddle it up. You do not want to puddle it up, so just be very careful not to over apply. It's nice too because it cleans up with a little bit of water, so you just rinse your brush in water and dry it and you're set to go. Okay, you want to make sure it's really nice and dry, and you can see it drying by holding it to the light and watching it dry when you hit it with the heat tool. The place where I have it a little heavier, we just want to just hold the heat tool over a little bit longer. You don't want to keep the heat tool right on it. Sometimes if you have the heat tool a little too close, you'll scorch your gourd. You don't want to do that. Just keep it moving. And that looks like it's dry. Alright, to apply your leafing, you want to make sure you're in a draft-free area. Don't sneeze around it. Be very careful because, as you can see, it's really light, so you don't want to work any place where there's a fan blowing or any kind of a breeze whatsoever. It's really difficult to work with this outdoors. With this piece, I'm going to pick this up. You're going to want to use very clean hands, dry hands. Once you lay it down, you cannot move it, so you want to be sure that you're placing it right over your pattern. So here we go. Whoops, there we go. Okay, I'm just going to pat it down with my sponge brush here. You can use a sponge brush, you can use a mop brush, you can use a piece of flannel. You don't want to use anything that's going to scratch it. But this is nice, just kind of pushing it down. You can use your fingers and just tap it. You can, hopefully the camera's picking it up, you can see the pattern where it's picking up, where it has been wood burn. And so I like to just kind of make sure it's on there. I'm going to take a piece of flannel and just lightly burnish it just a little bit. I want to make sure that it's adhered to all the area where I've placed that glue. Now again, I'm using the sponge brush. You can use a mop brush or any kind of a soft bristle paintbrush. There we go. This is looking good. Okay, so we've got the base down there. I'm going to take my flannel again and just softly burnish it in. You don't want to rub too hard, just softly go over it in small little circular motions. Now if you find that you've gone out of your lines a little bit, you can clean it up. You can take your craft knife and using the back side of the craft knife, just kind of come over and clean it up. You can use a wood burner on a low setting. You don't want to use a high setting because it will melt the metal leafing and then you won't have that nice crisp line. I'm going right back over into the channel of my wood burn area here just to kind of clean it up and make those lines pop. I don't like to use the blade end of the knife because it's too easy to slip off and scratch your leafing or scratch the gourd surface itself. So there we go. Okay, the final step is a thin coat of the protecting wax. And I use the wax on almost everything. I very seldom will ever use a spray finish. I would say 95% of the time I use the wax. Love the wax. Now I'm going to just work right over the top of the leafing. You're going to let this dry for, maybe a minute. Mainly all you're looking for is for it to turn into a kind of a foggy film. Okay, this has got that nice foggy look. It's dried. Didn't take long. So I'm taking my flannel and I'm just going to buff it up. Just lightly. And now that's just with one coat of wax. If you want a little bit more of a gloss or a shine, you could put another coat on. So there you have a finished piece of gourd here with your red variegated leafing.